Hello, in this video I'd like to cover how you go about installing the Worldox GX4 Professional client on a user's PC. Now if you happen to be working in an environment where you're running Citrix or RDS with published desktops, you're not going to install the client this way. We have a document in the Worldox knowledge base that goes over how you set up the client in those type of environments. What I'm going to cover here is where you actually have an end user's PC with all the applications installed locally on that PC, and you want to install the Worldox client on that PC to integrate with those applications and tie into your Worldox system on your network. So the first thing you want to do before you install the Worldox client is make sure that the user's PC meets the requirements. And you can find those on our website. So if you go to worldox.com, and once you're there, click on the support link, then scroll down, you'll find the information as far as the operating systems we support, the versions of Microsoft Office, WordPerfect Suite, Adobe, and that way you can make sure that you've got the proper environment set up for the client. Once you've done that, one other note, if you've got a brand new PC and you've just installed Microsoft Office or the Corel WordPerfect Suite, but you haven't run any of those applications yet, it's a good idea to start each one of those apps first. So like start up Outlook, start up Word, start up Excel, WordPerfect, Quattro Pro, etc., and have them run once. The reason for that is the Worldox client, when it installs and also when it runs, it looks to the Windows registry keys to see which applications have been finished installed on your PC, so it knows what application integration to tie into. So it's just a good idea if you're doing a brand new fresh PC to start those apps once before you install the Worldox client. Then after you've done that, you just want to make sure all your apps are closed before you actually run the client install. So if you have applications open like Outlook, Word, WordPerfect, etc., just shut those down so you have nothing running on the PC. Now there is no MSI for the Worldox client. You're just going to navigate to the Worldox network folder and you're going to run an executable and pass it a parameter, and that's going to install the client for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to right click on my Windows Start button and click on Run. And now I'm going to browse to my network folder. Now that may be a UNC based folder or a drive letter based folder. In this instance, I have Worldox installed to a map network drive, so I'm just going to browse to that W drive. And go to my network Worldox folder. Once I'm in my network Worldox folder, I want to look for a file called wdmirror.exe. And then I'm going to select and open that so it goes back to my run line. And I want to take my mouse cursor, put it at the end of it, and hit the space bar once, and then put a / in the letter I. And the /I doesn't mean install. What that tells Worldox to do is also to set up your desktop and start up shortcuts that'll get created. So that's for your icons. Now I'll click OK to actually start and run the install of the client. Now what's going to happen here is it actually creates a Worldox folder on the local C drive of the PC and then copies down all the necessary files and subfolders from the network that is required to run the Worldox client. And then it's also going to create the shortcuts for the Worldox client. Now depending on your environment and what type of permissions you have, you may see some warning messages pop up while you're running the client. If let's say you have UAC elevated, you may see some pop-ups from UAC coming up asking, is it okay to install this file? Is it okay to copy these files? Things along those nature. Or if you're in a restricted environment where you've locked down the local C drive, you may get errors and you may have to log on with a local admin type privileges in order to install the client. So just be aware of that if that should happen. Another thing is it'll create the shortcuts and let you know they were successful. But if you're short on permissions, so you have inadequate permissions to create those shortcuts, it will pop up warning messages and let you know that. At this point, I'm going to click OK. It's actually going to run the client. Now, if you're logged on the PC as a user that has a corresponding user account in WD-admin in the user list, it'll just automatically start the client. If you're logged on as a different user that doesn't have a Worldox account, it's going to stop and prompt you to type in a user code to get past that point. Now at this point it's running, but we don't want to actually start using it yet because that was part of the install process. So at this point, probably best if you would log off and then log back in and let the client restart. I'm not going to do that during the video. I just want to show you a couple other things real quick. So I'm just going to go ahead and shut down the client. But at this point, you'd log out and log back in and let it get a fresh load. Now, as far as the shortcuts that get created, I'm going to right click on this one and go into properties. And you can see it creates the shortcut to run WD Mirror, but it's not running it from your network folder. It's running it from your local C Worldox folder. So that's where you're going to run the client from once it's installed. And that's how the shortcut gets created. Now I also have some notes on these shortcuts. I'll open up, and this is based on this Windows 10, is first your all user startup folder location. It's going to put a shortcut in there. So that's under your C: program data folder, which is a hidden folder. So unless you have it turned on in Windows Explorer to display hidden folders, you're not going to see that. Program data, Microsoft Windows, start menu, program startup. It'll put a shortcut in there. It'll also throw one in all users desktop location, which is under C users public desktop, and that's also hidden. So you'll have to turn that on as allow to see hidden folders from Windows Explorer if you want to see that. Now you can control whether you want those shortcuts created or not by editing some files in your Worldox network folder. And those files are the wdmfmain.ini and the wdmfuser.ini. Now there's a knowledge base article in the Worldox knowledge base that gives you detailed instructions on how to customize that. If let's say you don't want the desktop shortcut getting created, you just want the one in the startup group getting created, it'll tell you how to do that in that knowledge base article. I'm not going to get into how you customize that in this video. I just want to be aware, if you do want to tweak it and customize it, you can. Just go into the knowledge base and do a search for the word installation. You'll get a number of hits back. Scroll through that list and you'll find one that says globally customized, and then you'll see desktop shortcuts. Open that KB article up. Once you open it up, that'll give you the step-by-step instructions on how you can customize which shortcuts get published where based on using that /I switch with the WD Mirror command. Okay, so that's what I wanted to cover real quick, was how to install the client, let you know about the shortcuts.